The Courage of Sarah Noble, Chapter 2, Night in the Settlement. The next night was quite different. They came at sundown to a settlement. The houses were brown and homelike. In two of them, the sticks of pine used instead of candles were already burning. They shone through the windows with a warm golden light that seemed to say, "Welcome, Sarah Noble." Sarah, riding on Thomas, the horse, looked down at her father walking beside her. It had been a long day and the trail through the forest had not been easy. "We will spend the night here, Father?" "Yes," said her father, "and you will sleep safely in a warm house." Sarah sighed with pleasure. "Lift me down and let me walk, Father. Poor Thomas carries so much. He should not carry me too far." So they were walking, all three of them, when they came to the cabin where the candlewood was lighted early. They knocked. The latch was lifted and a woman stood in the doorway looking at them. "She is not like my mother," Sarah thought. "Her face is not like a mother's face." Still the woman stood and looked at them. "Good evening," Sarah's father said. "I am John Noble from the Massachusetts colony, and this is my daughter Sarah. We are on our way to New Milford, where I have bought land to build a house. Can you tell us where we could put up for the night?" The woman looked at them, still without smiling. "We have not much room," she said, "but you may share what we have. My husband, Andrew Robinson, is away, and I had thought it might be wandering Indians. If you do not mind sleeping by the fire—" "We slept in the forest last night," John Noble said. "Anything under a roof will seem fine to us." So they went in, and Sarah saw the children who were in the house. There were 4 of them, 2 boys and 2 girls, all staring at Sarah with big, round eyes. She began to feel shy, and now she was alone, for her father had gone to see Thomas and to bring in Sarah's quilt for her to sleep on. "Be seated," said Mistress Robinson. "You are welcome to share what we have. Lemuel, Abigail, Robert, Mary, this is Sarah Noble." Sarah smiled timidly at the children. "Take off your cloak, Sarah." But Sarah held it closely. "If you do not mind," she said, "I will keep it. I am a little cold." The children laughed. Sarah sat down at the table, and in a few minutes her father was with them. Now Sarah let the cloak fall back from her shoulders. "I will hang it up for you," said Abigail. "It is a beautiful warm cloak." Her fingers stroked the cloak lovingly as she hung it on a peg. "And it is a kind of red," she said. "I would like to have a new cloak." "You have no need of a new cloak," said her mother sharply. Now Mistress Robinson began to ask questions, and as John Noble answered, she began clucking and fussing just as Sarah's mother might have done. But somehow Sarah's mother fussed in a loving way. "Taking this dear child into the wilderness with those heathen savages, and she is not more than 7. 8, said Sarah, "though my mother says I am not tall for my age." "8 then, what will you do there all alone?" "My father is with me," Sarah said. The children's eyes had grown wider and rounder. Now they began to laugh, and the younger ones pointed at Sarah. "She is going to live away off in the woods." "The Indians will eat you," Lemuel said, and smacked his lips loudly. "They will not hurt me," Sarah said. "My father says the Indians are friendly." "They will skin you alive." That was Lemuel. "I have heard that they are friendly," Mrs. Robinson put in quickly. "The men who bought the land gave them a fair price." "And promised they might keep their right to fish in the great river," said John Noble. "They will not be kind," said Robert, and he made chopping motions with his hand. Sarah felt a little sick. This was worse than wolves in the night. Her brothers were not like these boys, and she had heard about Indians. Perhaps these Indians had changed their minds about being friendly. She was glad when the children went to bed, all except Abigail, who spoke gently. "Don't mind the boys," Abigail whispered. "They tease." But Sarah did mind. If Stephen were with them, these boys would not dare to tease her, she thought. At last it was quiet, and the children were all in bed, and Sarah lay on her quilt by the fire. Mistress Robinson covered her up warmly, and for a moment she seemed a little like Sarah's mother. Then, so young, she said, a great pity. I would like to have my cloak, if you please, said Sarah. But you are warm. I am a little cold now. Mistress Robinson put the cloak over Sarah. Have it your way, child, but your blood must be thin. Sarah caught a fold of the cloak in her hand and held it tightly. As she closed her eyes, she could see pictures against the dark. They were not comfortable pictures. Before her were miles and miles of trees. Trees dark and fearful, trees crowding against each other, trees on and on. More trees and more trees. Behind the trees, there were men moving. Were they Indians? She held the warm material of the cloak even more closely. Keep up your courage, Sarah Noble. Keep up your courage, she whispered to herself. But it was quite a long time before she slept.